Hi guys, today I'm going to be sharing how I made this DIY canvas wall art with the anchor and the stripes. So you will need canvas and cardstock, an assortment of paints and paintbrushes, as well as scissors, tape, a ruler, and a pencil. So I started off by taking my canvas, flipping it upside down, and then tracing the lines onto a piece of cardstock, and then using my slicer to cut the paper to the size of the cardstock. This may take a few different slices because you want it to be the exact size of the cardstock. So when I first did it, it was a little bit big and I had to trim it down on both sides a little bit, but it is important to get it as close as possible because we're going to be doing the entire design on the cardstock as opposed to on the canvas. So first I'm doing these stripes, and what I found useful is I decided I wanted to do blue, white, blue, white, blue, white, blue. So I want blue stripes on either end, and what was the best was to, obviously you measure the side of it, and then I divided by 7 because I want 7 stripes, but I found that if I went from one side to the other, the last stripe was always a different size, either too big or too small. So what I did was did the 3 outside stripes on each side, and then my center stripe is a little bit big, but then it's still symmetrical. So now I just googled an anchor. You can do whatever symbol you want, but I wanted to do an anchor. So I googled that image, and then I'm mapping out different areas on my cardstock. So here I'm drawing a center line, then I measure to each side, so I want 2 centimeters up from the bottom and then 2 centimeters down from the top. I'm also drawing a center line horizontally because the picture on my phone was 7 centimeters and the flukes came up to 3.5 centimeters. So I did that halfway, and you can see here I start drawing the fluke at that line. So I'm definitely not an artist. I'm not very good at drawing or painting, so I had to map everything out how I was going to do it. You'll also see here that I'm only drawing one side. This is because I'm just going to flip it over and trace it, as opposed to struggling trying to make 2 sides that look the same. Once you're happy with your symbol, you can move the cardstock over to the canvas, and first I'm going to be doing the stripes. So since it's the exact same size, you don't have to measure anything. You can just put 2 dots and then draw your line down. This is why doing it on the cardstock first makes it a lot easier. Here I'm painting these stripes that I want white with white paint. I know the canvas is already white, but you can see that it is actually a little bit off-white, and it does change the texture when you paint it. So I like taking the extra time just to paint them white and making them all look the same. So here you can see that I thought I could freehand the blue stripes, but it wasn't working out. I wasn't getting a clean line. So I decided to take some masking tape and just lay that down to get a clear line. So what you want to do is put the masking tape while you can still see the pencil line, because you want the blue paint to cover the pencil line and not the white paint. As you saw earlier, when you're painting the white stripes, you don't have to be inside the lines at all because the blue paint will obviously just paint right over it anyway. So once you have all the coats of paint you want, you're going to have to wait for it to dry. I took this time to cut my anchor out of the one side of the cardstock, and I'm actually not going to cut off the side that I didn't draw on because I'm going to use that to position it on the canvas easier. So once the blue paint is dry, you can go ahead and peel the masking tape off. You may be able to see there that the one stripe at the top is not even, so all I did was take another piece of masking tape, lay it down, and paint that one really quick to fix it up. But the rest of the stripes turned out really nice and clean. So once that's all dry, you can lay your anchor down and you're just going to trace around it onto the canvas. Once you're down the one side, you can just lay it down the opposite way and trace the other side. So this is the part that I was the most nervous about because I'd spent so much time already doing everything else that I thought I was just going to ruin the whole thing with black paint and no one would ever see this DIY. So I am really happy with the final product and it did work out, but if you are wondering if you can freehand like this, my advice is just to go really slow and take your time. If you're in a rush, just put it down and pick it up when you have time. Throw on a movie or Netflix or something and just have fun with it. Another thing is to experiment with your paintbrushes and your paint. So you can see that I started there with the big sponge, but I just moved to this smaller paintbrush and found that a lot easier. Be aware of how much paint that you have on your paintbrush because you don't want to try to draw on a pencil line with a huge gob of paint. Little things like that. But mostly just take your time and have fun with it. So I know this is kind of a long DIY, but I did want to do a long voiceover because, especially with DIYs like this, I wanted to make sure that I gave you guys all of my tips for it because I've watched other DIYs, especially on Canvas, and the person's just an artist and can just like freehand an anchor, and then I can't do that. So I thought I would give you tips if you really are not a very good drawer or painter. So once you finish filling it in, you will want to go back and make a whole bunch of little touch-ups because it looks pretty good on camera here, but there were areas that needed to be touched up. And then I take my white paint because I had drawn the center line there, so I wanted to cover that up. And I'm doing a few more touch-ups here. So once you're happy with it, you can move on to painting the edges. So this is a really important step. I used silver paint and went around, but if you want your canvas to look complete and nice, then you definitely need to do this. I only show one side here, but once you are done all sides, then you're finished. So this is my completed canvas. I'm really happy with the final product, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you try out this DIY, Twitter or Instagram, the links are in the down bar. And thank you guys again so much for watching. Bye.